seems like I replace these things once a year, and inside of a year it does that. And that's a year where I don't even actually use the machine almost all summer. Maybe that's why. I don't know. They are made cheap, cheap, cheap. They're sold expensive. use the rock chips is for slip, trip, fall prevention. It's definitely best practice, and what you'll notice if you don't is the surfaces are really, really, really slippery until you put it down. Now, this is a rental yard. This is a rental, or I shouldn't say it's a rental yard. It's my brother and sister-in-law's place where I rent space, and I clear their snow typically for free. Every once in a while they give you a little break on rates and what have you. Usually I do it for free. So I'm here anyway. progressively worse and worse. Case in point, this windshield wiper, if I looked up the receipt for this, it's not even 2 years old. This windshield wiper didn't even get probably 100 hours. But their prices sure haven't come down for any of their parts. Just the quality. Oh, that's nice. Found some grease. Okay. Excellent. It's eating itself, maybe. Right in my line of sight. Bobcat is a good brand, but they did sell, I think so, to China. You might want to fact check me on that one, but I'm almost certain they sold to a Chinese firm, which is fine. There's lots of really cool stuff that's come out of China. Like there's a lot of great stuff that's coming out of that country. So I'm not even actually crapping on China and saying that everything that they produce is junk. They do have a lot of made fast, chunky stuff. They've got a lot of pretty decent stuff too. So I'm not anti-China. I'm anti-low quality. There's some stuff made in America, usually made in America or made in Canada, is good quality, but that's not guaranteed either. It seems like nothing is built like it used to be built. Everything is kind of with that planned obsolescence factored in. They want you to go and get a new thing every 5 years. Chevy and GMC, I would argue, are notorious for planned obsolescence in their paint booths, and whoever handles that, in my opinion, should be shot. Because in this climate in our city, you can't find a 5-year-old truck that doesn't have rust on its fenders. And the Fords don't have any rust on their fenders. I mean, that Ford that I'm pointing out there, that's a 2011, 350,000 kilometers, and it doesn't have any rust on the fenders at all. Now, I'm a second owner, so maybe somebody Sometimes I'd disconnect the trailer and I would push it in place with the skid steer. Still might do that actually, but I've got a pretty nice wide open area that I can just back it in with the truck. So I welded these ramps on to my trailer a few years ago because I had a few sites where everything was kind of close and I didn't feel like lifting the ramps up. And it's kind of nice to have these in place in case I want to back the trailer up instead of having that C-channel dig into the asphalt or concrete. It just glides on the ground, and when the grounds are covered in snow and ice, it's not that big of a deal. I like to hang my chains up on the ramps. That way when we get a whole bunch of snow and I go to shovel this off, because I don't like going out with a snow-covered trailer. I don't have a big mess to contend with, where I don't have to fight with unburying my chains and getting my hands all wet at the start of the day. So that's there. That's there. This is here. Let's put her away.
Your music, but I know this song. Yeah. Achy, breaky heart.
I got that after the COVID shot. Permanent cough, it would seem like. Had just this terrible hacking that's been hanging on for the last, oh man, it must be almost a month now that I've had it. My wife got it first. Now I have it. And who knows, maybe we'll be in a perpetual cycle of just giving it to each other. But I will say that after the second COVID shot, my immunity definitely went down. I can't call them vaccines. I've got all my proper vaccines. Those COVID shots are a joke. There's no way that those were properly trialed, properly tested. We are the test. Hopefully that doesn't end up hurting me or hurting my boys down the line. But there was all kinds of things wrong with how that went down. Don't need to get too into that. I mean, if you listen to Robert F. Kennedy on Joe Rogan, episode 1999, very eye-opening from a guy whose family was in the presidential, was a U.S. president rather, and he's actually himself now running. It would be nice to see somebody. I mean, I'm not going to say that I know everything about what's going on in the U.S. politics as a Canadian, but we do watch it because it matters to us. It matters to me. What happens there? It's a major world player, and I find the Joe Biden administration, I mean, I don't even know if he would have gone so far as to hire those people to infiltrate the White House. I know that the swamp will use anything and everything that they can to try to sway public. Quite a bit of corruption, I would argue. Not that we don't have a ton of that here with our current political leader, who I probably like even less than Joe Biden, and I have zero love for Joe Biden. And Trump, I think he was good for the American middle class, which is something that USA hasn't seen in quite a while. I don't know enough about Obama, although I think that he was pretty heavily kind of a warmongering president. Might have been more of a warmonger than Bush Jr., which is saying a lot, because between him and Dick Cheney as vice president, also owner or major owner of Halliburton, a humongous oil and energy business. It's hard to believe that there'd be somebody that come after Bush that would be even more war hungry and more oil hungry than him. But I digress. The main thing is I cleared the snow at my yard, and tomorrow I'll probably do a little bit more detail work here, and then I can wait for the next snowstorm. So I did a bunch of condo sites, but I don't really like filming those. This is kind of more space that I use on a regular basis, but it's done, so I am going to park the Bobcat. I like to back my Bobcat up to my trailer as kind of an added theft prevention. They make lots of great locks for trailers, but I've just gotten in the habit over the years that I always put a piece of equipment in front of or around or bury the trailers, because they're so easy for somebody with a hitch and a truck to drive up and just help themselves to them. So